welcome to a new episode of the Rebel Radio podcast. And before we went on the air here, there's a guy sitting across the camera zone here from me, crying like a little bitch. His birthday weekend, I guess he's like, it's my birthday. I'm going to cry if I want to.
That's right.
Since our other co-host Long, who is now almost going on a year-long hiatus from the show.
Actually, exactly 1 year next week.
Matt, we always invite him. He's always welcome to come record whenever he wants.
Absolutely.
Matt invited him to come on his birthday show, and I guess Long decided he wasn't joining us. So Matt was boo-hooing that his Asian brother wasn't joining him, and so I true. Crying like a bitch.
I invited him. I put together a little goodie bag for him. We're gonna stay after the show and karaoke Bryan Adams, Everything I Do. Wow. And now he's not here. He's not here for that. It was a hit single,
It's a massively hit single, actually.
The greatest love song ever, possibly.
I don't know about that.
Top 10? Top 10? Maybe top 10.
I would say top 10. I mean, I'm kind of partial to George Strait's Cross My Heart, but
Ooh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
hard to top.
Yeah.
Yes, we are now the Rebel Radio podcast of love. We're singing love tunes for you all night long. Stay with us, buddy.
Smooth love tunes, rock ballads.
Man, I got told, one time, a long time ago, when we were doing the show as a radio show, someone told me, they're like, man, you have this is a true story. I'm not patting my own ego because I'm not really like that. I'm very introverted, but someone told me that I had a late night radio love voice. Like I could just, I don't know. I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, you could just play late night tunes and make the ladies swoon. I'm like, really? I've never been told that before. This was told to me from a woman a long time ago. And I was like, okay, sure. Never thought of it that way. Because I honestly, when I go back,
she loved your voice, man.
I listen to the shows. I hate the fucking way I sound sometimes. And I rarely listen to our own episodes. I used to quite often, but it was more out of to see what we could improve on. But now, in the last few years, I think we've got such a good flow of the show. I don't feel the need to listen as much anymore to myself.
Yeah.
And then I'm just hard on myself anyways. Like, I said that. I sound fucking stupid, but it is what it is. But then sometimes I get told, like a friend of mine that listens to the show, let's just say we got called perverts for last week's episode. But you know what? I'm not fucking apologizing for it. I will stand by my beliefs that seeing Jennifer Lawrence naked was worth every fucking second.
There you go. Stick by it, man. Don't change for anybody.
And if I'm a pervert for that, well, god dang it,
Yeah.
I'm a man, baby.
Yeah. Don't let anybody else ruin your day. Ruin it yourself. Be a man.
Right. I'm not going to be stuck in this politically correct cancel world and say that I can't say Jennifer Lawrence has a nice pair of tits. I'm going to say it.
That's American, dude.
That's right.
That's what America's all about.
Fuck all this 2023 cancel culture woke shit.
Yeah. If you want to watch, Jennifer Lawrence naked punching, people in the
vagina.
Yeah. Getting punched in the vag. Yeah.
I'm going to fucking watch it.
Exactly.
I'm not going to apologize for it. But happy birthday, brother.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
You've another year's gone by. You grew another pube, and
just one more. Yeah.
But man, I'm going to, since we're doing a love connection day, I am going to publicly air this, that man, but I am, known you almost 20 years now, and you've gone from being a kid to a bigger kid. Just a bigger kid. Just being a great father and a great friend, and and I'm proud of you, and so happy birthday, man.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it, man.
You and your family, mean a lot to me, and you've done a lot for me, so I do appreciate everything you do. So
everything I do it for you. How about that? Bryan Adams, working in Bryan Adams again right there.
Yeah, man, but yeah, man. So another year's gone by, man. Seems like we were just doing birthday movies, and we just did mine last month, and now yours, and it's like,
Yeah, man, you're talking about the radio show. It's like, wow, it really has been. I was 18 years old, and, it was damn
yeah,
near 20 years. Yeah,
we're gonna
man, you're
hit
right.
we're gonna hit the 10th anniversary of the podcast version next year. So it's been quite a ride, man. We've had a lot of adventures together. There'll be a lot of reminiscing, I think, here in this next few months as we get close to that 10-year anniversary of the podcast. And,
Oh, yeah, that's going to be epic.
I mean, it's taken us many adventures doing it. And we just did this show for fun. We had no idea where we were going with it. We didn't even know if it'd make it past a few episodes. And here we are at 336 or something. I don't know. No, we're past that 380.
Yeah, 380.
No, not
370.
360 something, 364.
Yeah, I know we're almost at 370.
I think this is 364. So yeah, and this is episode 364. So man, it's like wow, and we're just chugging along. And,
time flies when you're having fun, dude.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a good time every week to get together and talk movies and pop culture and stuff. And it's funny that I, by accident, not because I thought maybe Long was going to be on the show this week with one of Voodoo's $5 sales. Wyatt was looking at it with me, and he's 8 years old and he loves Godzilla. So we bought Godzilla 2000 for $5, and we watched it.
Oh, not bad.
It's that was the reboot that happened in 1999 when TriStar had planned on a big trilogy for Godzilla's.
Yeah, with Broderick, right?
Yeah. Well, they had another trilogy. When the Broderick one failed, they had another trilogy planned as a backup. And but it looked like the powers that be at TriStar weren't going to make it happen because of the failure of the Broderick film.
Okay. So
part of their deal was getting the rights to Godzilla was that they had to help co-finance the next film with Toho. And so Godzilla 2000, or Godzilla Millennium, as some people call it, to launch the Millennium era, was a co-production. It's still very much a Japanese production, but you can tell there's a little more money involved in it. There's a lot of CGI shots. There's still a lot of man-in-the-suit shots, but there's a ton of action. They definitely upped the ante to have a lot more action in it instead of so much social commentaries and expositions in it. But it's also really weird, just like that kind of era was, like with the fairies and stuff. There's like a weird alien space probe that comes out of the water and it turns into like a Godzilla-like clone that he fights. It's all very weird. It still has that really strange Japanese bizarre culture stuff in it that like you just kind of go with it as an American viewer. You're just like, okay, whatever, I'm just gonna watch it.
I've seen it all.
Yeah, it's a fun watch though, and it rebooted Godzilla, and I guess Toho decided to reboot it when the TriStar era fell apart because they wanted to have Godzilla films ready for the 50th anniversary and all that.
Yeah,
and but it's a fun, it was a cool little watch. I mean, and some really good cinematography work I thought in it for a Godzilla film. I was like, man, there's some pretty impressive shots of this movie as far as camera work and things. So it's not one of the better Godzilla films, I would say, from that era, but it's still definitely entertaining and very watchable. And I kind of watched. It's weird. I watched the trailer before it, and it has that very late '90s trailer feel, just like the movie we're doing today. It's very much like you can watch this movie and go, "When was this made?" And someone's easily going to guess, "Oh, like 90 something." And that's kind of how the trailer for Godzilla 2000 felt. But it was a fun watch. Other than that, man, I haven't watched. I didn't watch a lot this week because I've I don't know. I had things to do. I did watch Ahsoka, which we'll talk about in a minute. And for some reason, I feel like there was something else I fucking watched. Oh, I mean, I did watch Indiana Jones again, but I talked about that last week. But I literally watched it again since last week. I'm like, let's make it one more time.
I'm gonna watch it again.
Really, it's one of those movies that I'm liking it more with each viewing. I think I'm appreciating the pacing of it. I'm appreciating the story it tells.
It does have good pacing.
And the first time I watched it, you're letting go of one of your favorite characters of all time, so it's a lot to take in. And the more I watch it, I realize how much there is to take in and how much I really enjoy it. And I'm really liking it more and more with each viewing. What did you watch this week before we talk about Ahsoka?
Yeah. So I played more Destiny, and then the server went down for maintenance. So I went back on Battlefront, and I decided to play on some characters that I don't usually play on, like Lando. So I started playing on Lando a little bit. And then I also saw a Voodoo sale. And, I think I'd mentioned to you that I'd seen Insomnia, but I hadn't really seen it because it's like we went to go see another movie. I was in high school, and I got dropped off at the theater, and me and the girl that I was dating at the time, we watched a movie, and then we're like, hey, let's see what other movie we can kind of, see a little bit of. And so it's kind of what you did as a teenager. You're like, see if I can walk into this theater across from this one.
We've all theater before.
Oh, yeah. So Insomnia was up there, and it was supposed to be, this big film, and, it looked enticing. So went in there and we were watching it. And I remember seeing Pacino chase Robin Williams across a bunch of logs and stuff. And it's really all I remember from it. And I know it was about a murder case.
It's my least favorite in all the films.
Yeah, it's Hillary. It's got an odd cast. Hillary Swank.
So slow too.
It does, and it's okay at the beginning. It's got. I think it's good in the beginning. In the middle, it's missing something in the middle. The pacing's off. It goes into like this research mode thing, and this kind of like cat and mouse thing where Robin Williams is like, oh, I saw that you shot your partner. What should we do? You don't want me to tell on you. And so, then you find out he recorded their conversation, and assumingly, I guess Pacino's not going to go after him, and he's going to let this kid take the fall for this murder, this other suspect instead of Robin Williams. And then at the end, it all builds up to where Hillary Swank is now going to be a victim of Robin Williams, and Pacino's got to go in there and say hello to my little friend, and I don't know, after $1 Million Baby, I don't know what she did.
It's kind of disappeared.
Well, there was a horror movie that she starred in, and I remember watching it, but it was kind of one of those throwaway horror movies. They marketed it pretty good. It looked good. And then you went and saw it, and you're like, oh, this is just a one-watch kind of deal. That's the last thing I saw her in.
Yeah. But, yeah, I don't know. Insomnia, man, it says, I guess it was Nolan in his early days. He had done Memento, and he was still trying to find his footing. And, I don't know. It didn't work for me. I found it kind of a slow, boring film, and I guess compared to the stuff, and I'm not talking the Batman films. I'm talking, Inception, Oppenheimer, Tenet, his more modern stuff. Insomnia just feels just like a distant cousin almost.
It really does. It doesn't even seem like a Nolan film, really. Right. There's parts of it where I'm like, okay, this is kind of it, where they're in the fog and there's some confusion and he accidentally shoots his partner. I'm like, okay, this seems kind of Nolan-ish, but other than that, I don't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's because there's no Hans Zimmer, maybe it's missing that Hans Zimmer,
Yeah, but didn't Hans he didn't score Oppenheimer, did he? I think it's the first movie they hadn't done together.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think Hans.
You know what I did see, and you've mentioned this movie before because it's a Woo film, but I know it's not that great of a film, so I haven't even bothered trying to look at it or anything, and that's Paycheck. And it was on sale for $6 or $7.
I think you can watch that on Paramount Plus for free.
Yeah, I may have to try and watch it. But it's like I saw the trailer, and I just couldn't get into it. I saw it, and it goes, he works for the government, and then he's like,
Plus anymore. But yeah,
he's got one mission, and they're like, okay. Here we go. We're going to wipe you. And so he gets wiped and he wakes up and he's like getting questioned by them again, I guess, in the trailer.
Let's put it this way. When Ben Affleck, who was super proud to work with John Woo, John Woo himself and Aaron Eckhart himself all disown the film, it's not good.
Yeah.
And apparently, like Woo's other Mission Impossible 2, that there is a longer John Woo-ish cut of Paycheck out there, but it's never going to see the light of the day, probably.
Oh, never.
Apparently it exists. So I don't know.
That was funny though. They're like, "What did you do?" And he's like, "I don't remember. You wiped my memory. What'd you do? I don't know, dude. You wiped my memory, man." And they're like, "You've got 19 items." And he's like, "Oh, I've got to put this together." And it's like a deck of cards, a toothpick, some sunglasses. I'm like, "Are you MacGyver?" You know?
All I remember from it too is there's a really weird, like, couple of John Woo moments in it. Like Affleck and Eckhart's character have the classic Mexican standoff, which Woo is known for. And there's a part where Affleck opens the door and a dove flies through for like no fucking reason. And it's just like,
where'd these birds come from? Who's letting these birds in this building?
Like, people complain about the doves in MI2, but at least they're in like this open cave system. Okay, you could believe there were birds down there, right?
Exactly.
The scene that happens in Paycheck, you're literally like, wait, what? Why is there
every time he opens a bathroom stall, these birds go everywhere?
Oh man, that was such a shame. As I remember hearing about that movie and being, Ben Affleck, Uma Thurman. I was like, okay, John Woo, okay, and then it comes out and I saw it. I'm just like, okay, no, this is not good.
It wouldn't be the first movie that had a good-looking cast, and then it just, what happened? Like, what happened, man? But that's how Hollywood is sometimes. It looks good up front, and then you start opening it up, and it's kind of a can of worms. Not to Woo's fault. I think, a lot of times here, obviously, talked about it many times, studio interfered a lot, just like they do with a lot of other directors.
It's the film that made him leave America and go back to Hong Kong.
Damn. Fucking bat flag.
Messing with so much. And now apparently he's got a new film coming out for American audiences, which was supposed to be out this December, but I haven't heard any promotion for it, so don't know if it's coming or not.
We will see. Other than that, just like you, Ahsoka.
Man, let's get into Ahsoka. First off, I had to really think about this, and when I say think about this, I'm talking about the Disney Plus era of Star Wars shows since The Mandalorian started about 4 years ago. And and we've had some great moments. We've had, obviously, the very famous Luke Skywalker moment.
Yeah.
The first live action appearance of Ahsoka moment. A couple others in there. I mean, as much as people didn't like Boba Fett, him riding the Rancor was a fantastic Star Wars moment. But this episode, this 40 minutes, and I could argue this might be the best 40 minutes of Star Wars of any of the fucking television episodes yet. I mean, this was what we grew up watching. Excitement, lightsabers, good dialogue, highly intriguing storyline. That just we took the first 3 episodes and we just moved the story further very quickly a lot in this 40 minutes. Intrigue. Characters battling with themselves as far as their decisions they make. I mean, this was total fucking Star Wars in 40 minutes. And it was beautiful. And it was awesome. And I found myself smiling from ear to ear for the first time watching Star Wars in a bit. And this is like, you can see when Dave Filoni puts his hands on things. And I know him and Jon Favreau are producers throughout most of these shows, right? But you can just tell when they're more hands-on like they are with Mandalorian and Ahsoka, that they just get it. And it feels like this is what Obi-Wan should have been. This excitement that we expected to get from Star Wars. And we had it in a couple of episodes from Obi-Wan, but not all 6. And we're getting that in every episode of Ahsoka. And this is also, for the first 3 episodes of the show, it kind of, you could watch it without having to watch Rebels. For the most part, you could pick up what's going on. Now, this episode totally throws out the window and says, well, if you don't watch Rebels, you better get caught up because you're going to be fucking left behind.
Exactly.
That's very much what this episode does. And I thank Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau for doing that, giving us something that I feel we earned for those of us that stuck with Rebels for 4 seasons and did not. We had a conclusion, but we didn't find out what happened to Ezra and what happened to Thrawn. And now they're leading us in that direction. But man, this episode was just it was great. I mean, I didn't.
Yeah,
I
there's
truly didn't know what was
tension.
going to
Yeah,
happen. There were surprises in it, like Merrick. He gone. You know, after all that question whether he was Ezra or Cal Kestis or some secret character. Nope, he's gone. Not only that,
gone, dude.
Looks like he was a reanimated Night Sister. The way he disappeared. You know?
Yeah, because he just vanished. There was, like the sand came out of his suit or something.
Yeah. And that, how fucking cool is that? Like Ahsoka's just sitting there fighting him, and he's doing all this fancy shit with his spinning lightsaber and everything, and she's just like, "No, boom, bam, okay, you're gone."
Taking a page out of Obi-Wan's book. Grievous came after him spinning his sabers like that too, and friggin' Obi-Wan blasted his ass.
Throwback, yes, and it was awesome, and just the fight to, and this kind of may have went past people. Sabine's fight, where she's fighting Shen, and then facing off with Balin, even though she doesn't fight him with a lightsaber. But did you notice? Yes, we know she gives herself up at the end because otherwise she was going to die because I don't know so much that she believes Balin that he's really going to help her find Ezra, but I think she also realizes the only way she was going to stay alive. So she chose to let them capture her. But just the confidence that she had fighting Shen compared to the first time she fought her. I mean, it was awesome. That how much she's growing as a character in just a few episodes.
She's getting stronger.
Yeah. And it was great. And then, Ahsoka, of course, gets thrown off a cliff by Balin and seemingly left for possibly death. But then we have a major ending that I guess in some ways it was unexpected, but if people watched the internet, they knew that the rumors were that this character was going to appear in this show. And I'm going to tell people right now, there's a bit of a spoiler here. So if you want to jump a couple minutes, if you haven't watched it yet, but, Ahsoka goes into the nether realm or the world between worlds, which this is where it's definitely a Rebels throwback because unless you watch Rebels, you've never seen this before. When Ezra went into this world to, was it to find Kanan or Ahsoka? Someone he went to that world, if I remember right. It's been a while since I've seen Rebels.
Yeah, and Yoda was talking to him.
Yeah.
And
so she's in who appears, but Anakin himself in the form of Hayden Christensen appears to her. And that's how the episode ends. And even for me, I was like, even though I knew the rumors that Hayden was in the show, it was still awesome. I was like, whoa, that is cool. Because in Star Wars history, this is the first time ever we've seen Anakin Skywalker or Darth Vader appear in a post-Return of the Jedi scene in any form. Now, I'm not familiar with all the comic books that are out there and all the books, and maybe he's appeared in some form. But as far as what I consider the official canon, which is the live action of the cartoons, this is the first time. So it was a huge moment.
Yeah, big time. And so, it's the way the next episode is going to start off is going to be awesome because we're going to continue right on from that. They just give you a little snippet, and that's it. But it's enough to be like, wow, I wonder what's going to happen next.
Yeah, it was awesome. And, and people said he looked like they used de-aging tech. It looked a little off. Okay, maybe it did. But, it's television. They're doing the best they can. It was just still so cool to see. And obviously they're not going to kill Ahsoka 4 episodes into her own show. I'm sure she's going to come out of the world between worlds in some way. And that's what Anakin's there for, to be her guide. But it's just this show is, it may be the best thing that's come out of the Disney Plus era so far as the television shows. It's starting to, I've loved The Mandalorian, but this is starting to, just 4 episodes in, really surpassing it. And it's awesome.
No, I think, and a cool thing I like is that Sabine she's having her ups and downs. She's not absolute, and it kind of interrupts this notion that, I've seen in a lot of movies that men have to become, women just are. Wakanda, Black Panther, he had to become, Chadwick Boseman had to become the Black Panther. Siri just was Black Panther. She was able to create a synthetic, and then She-Hulk. She just becomes Rey. She just is. and it's just okay. They're further along than their predecessor right off the bat. Luke could only use the Force to fly very well. Rey, man, she can go toe to toe with a person who was trained by Luke right off the bat. So it's really refreshing to see a more realistic take on a character that, hey, she's not going to get it right off the bat. And even though she's got previous training that she didn't really follow up on, she's continuing it, and she's showing that, hey, she still has some growth potential, and she's growing right in front of you, just like you saw Luke grow from, from the movies he starred in.
And how cool was it to see her in her Mandalorian armor and shooting things up, using her Mandalorian?
That was cool. I had to do a double take. I was like, what the heck?
Badass.
Yeah. Uh-huh. It reminded me of that episode with Rebels, whenever she was trying to, who was she fighting? Is she going against Ahsoka and trying to use her bounty hunter gear, and she was getting bested, and she's like, sometimes there's no, I think she gets basically in so many words, there's no replacement really for using the Force. There's only so far that those bounty hunter gadgets are going to get you.
Right. She
was trying to use the grappling hook and stuff like that, and the bolos and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So it was cool to see that again. Another callback.
Yeah. No, it's really good stuff, and I'm. It's a little sad we're already halfway through, only 4 more to go, but
yeah.
But because now we go into the unknown space, because we really don't know what's next. I mean, we know the Bad Batch season 3 is coming. We know Skeleton Crew is coming, but with all these strikes and stuff, we don't know when it's coming. So I'm going to enjoy this while we can. We move along, and that leads us to some news. And we'll start with Ahsoka news. If you want to see episode 5 on the big screen, there are certain cities and areas that are having big cinematic screenings of this. Now, me personally, I don't think I'm going to go pay $12 to watch something I can watch at home. But if you're interested in that in your area, on Tuesday night, they're having screenings of episode 5 of Ahsoka in limited theaters. And it is the other episode besides the premiere that's directed by Dave Filoni. So we'll see what happens when it comes out this Tuesday night. I will be watching it comfortably on my couch and my television about 8:15, like I've been doing, and I'm okay with that. And so we had a new trailer this week for Godzilla Minus One, and man, shit, that looks badass. That's all I'm gonna say. Even I was on earlier about watching Godzilla 2000, and I showed the trailer to Wyatt. Even he was like, "Man, that looks intense, Dad." I was like, "Yeah, it does." And I asked him, I said, "Do you want to go see it, even if you have to read it, if there's no English sub?" He goes, "Oh, yeah, I want to see it anyway. I'll just watch the action if I can't keep up without reading." But that boy reads just fine. I'm sure he'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and it's going to have a nationwide theatrical release in December. I think it's the 1st of December. Godzilla Minus One is going to come out. So, and we're going to have Godzilla Minus One in December and Godzilla vs. Kong in April. So lots of Godzilla action for Godzilla fans in the next 8 months.
Yeah, no, the trailers look awesome, man. It looks like a horror movie. Looks like mass hysteria.
Yeah, I feel like Toho felt
damn near entertaining.
Well, I think Toho felt like, the American films have been pretty successful since the new reboot in 2014, and they're like, okay, we got to step up our game. This is what Godzilla fans are looking for. High, well done CGI, well done action. You're in 2023. The man in the suit isn't going to cut it. And the bad CGI from Shin Godzilla is not going to cut it anymore either.
Yeah,
you've got to step up your game if you're Toho, and that's what it looks like they're doing. Were you a fan of Disney's Gargoyles back in the day?
Yes, yeah, I remember Lexington and man, I remember Lexington, the small gargoyle. I forget the lead one, but yeah, they always had the little cop chick that was friends with them and stuff.
Yeah. It was good stuff. I mean, you can watch it on Disney Plus shows on there, but the very popular and very hard to find Super Nintendo game is getting a remaster. It's going to be out on PlayStation 4 and up system, so Xbox One, Xbox Series X, all those. It's going to be available on.
Nice.
It's going to be out October 19th, so just around the corner. Anybody wants to buy a remastered version of the Gargoyles video game, and Okay, man, this is something that has long been a topic of ours. The Crow remake, starring
Oh
Skarsgård,
yeah,
Bill Skarsgård from John Wick 4 and Pennywise. Apparently the movie's already shot. I didn't realize this, and they was just looking for a distributor. So it had financing from a studio, but yet didn't have a distributor. I guess Lionsgate has picked this up. They're going to release it sometime in 2024. It's directed by Rupert Sanders, who's best known for his Snow White in the Huntsman movie and the Ghost in the Shell live action version. Um, I have the Brandon Lee movie is just very, very special to me, and I know to you too.
to a lot of people.
And I feel like you have to be very careful with this, not to step on Brandon's legacy. And I've said this before in the show. I think if you're going to make a Crow remake and you make it a lot like the comic book, hyper realistic, straight from the pages, it could work. Because as much as I love the 1994 film, it's not just like the comic book. It takes a lot of liberties, but it still tells the story.
Right.
So we'll see. But then I look at the IMDb cast list and I see character names that already don't match the comics. So that gets me right away going, what are they doing? What is this movie?
It's like another City of Angels or what?
So I'll hold judgment till I see some footage and maybe see what it says. Maybe it'll surprise us, but I just don't feel like it needs to be made. The remake's been cursed going back to 2008. They've been trying to get this thing made, and it's never had any luck. So it just feels like it's just something that just needed to be left alone. We all know the film has been cursed since it was originally made with the death of Brandon Lee and some of the other injuries they had on set. And it's just such a special story that was told by James O'Barr from his heart and from his own personal losses. And the movie became a special thing because of Brandon Lee. It just feels like leave it alone. Let it be what it is and the legacy it has. But
exactly.
the remake will be out in 2024. They got some DC news. They announced that they're going to animate Crisis on Infinite Earths, one of the most popular stories of all time by Marv Wolfman and the late great George Perez. And now it appears it could be a trilogy of films. They haven't officially announced this yet, but they've gone to animating it, and the story is so big that they can't. And I had thought this originally. I was like, there's no way they can do this one movie. But according to some copyright notices that have come out and some casting call sheets for voice casting, that it's showing up listed as 3 different things, and there's no official word yet, but it looks like we might be getting a trilogy of Crisis on Infinite Earths films from the animated
Wow.
movies. And the DC animated movies have not been as good lately, but I hope that the powers that be know the strength of this story and how popular it is, and surely they're going to bring this to the screen in properly told versions. I would think if you're the DC animators, you got to do Crisis on Infinite Earths the right way.
I mean, they've done. I mean, they did the Superman, Death of Superman in 2 different movies. So
well.
yeah, it was done well.
Batman on Long Halloween was done well.
Yes.
Hush was done well, even though I felt Hush could have probably been 2 films. It felt a little rushed at time, but it was still good. But yeah, this is definitely one that they need to take their time with and do it right. Because it's something that I'm excited for, and I hope it's good. And then lastly, Annual Batman Day is on September 16th, next Saturday. And
okay.
This is something that they started a few years ago, and you can go to your local comic book stores. You got free comic books they're giving away. And there's a couple new graphic novels will be out for sale that day. And if you want, we talked some Christopher Nolan earlier. Christopher Nolan's trilogy will be in some theaters that day. I don't think you have to go see it as a trilogy. I think you can go see any one of the movies if you want to. If you want to go see Batman Begins or The Dark Knight or The Dark Knight Rises and catch them on the big screen again. They'll be playing in theaters that Saturday the 16th. And HBO Max will be spotlighting all their Batman stuff they have on when you log into your Max account that day. Batman, my favorite superhero of all time. So I'm down with Batman Day. I think it's cool.
Heck yeah, dude. Why not?
Probably not going to be in town that day to go visit a comic book shop, just like I wasn't last year either on Batman Day. But it is what it is. So no free comics for me, but that's okay. I got lots of cool shit. That's it, man. A lot more news today than some weeks. The news has been.
Yeah.
I dug deep into the hole this week, and I brought some news. And,
it had definitely been a little shallow, for sure.
Yeah, it's bad when you're going through the news sites and they're reporting on the latest issue of Blue Beetle has a surprise in it. Okay, you're doing comic book shop news, which tells me movie and television news is slow.
Yeah,
because they're no one's ever reported on an issue of a comic unless it's like a major event, But and no disrespect to Blue Beetle, all good there. Let's get to today's featured film. A story that has had many theatrical versions over the years, and so in the late '90s, they had decided. This was directed by Ryan Reynolds, not Ryan Reynolds.
Kevin Reynolds?
Kevin Reynolds, yes.
Yeah.
Who was a hot director at the time and a friend of Kevin Costner's. And, they were like, Costner was red hot coming off of Dance with the Wolves and some other things. They're like, well, let's make a big budget live action Robin Hood film. And they did that with Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. And, and everyone knows the story of Robin. This is a movie that, we always summarize the films, but I feel like we know the story of Robin. He comes back from the Crusades, and his lands are being taken against the evil sheriff. So he has to form a bunch of villagers, basically, to fight back against the evil sheriff. And by stealing from the sheriff himself and giving to the poor and encouraging the people to do just that and fight back against the evil sheriff, and which is played by the great. Oh my God! Why is his name?
Alan Rickman,
who is probably the highlight of this film.
Definitely,
because he hated the script so badly, but yet it was kind of odd. He hated the script, but he wanted to do the movie. He was like, I kind of want to do this, even though I don't like the script.
Yeah.
So part of his contract was, can I ad lib? And they were like, okay, sure, but they didn't tell Kevin Costner. So some of Costner's reactions to the movies and to Michael Wincott's reactions are legit because they weren't sure what he was going to say, which makes the movie, you can see on their faces too. You notice Michael Wincott and Kevin Costner kind of look like, wait, what did you just say? By allowing Alan Rickman to ad-lib lines, but it works in the movie so well. This movie, man, Matt, you always pick movies that are either, they're not terrible. Well, I don't know. Last Action Hero is pretty terrible. But they're not, like Last Year Bullet's probably the best movie you've ever picked as far as quality. Or they're just really dumb like Austin Powers.
They're entertaining. They're for sure entertaining.
Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves is entertaining. Yeah, I mean, I'll give it that. The last hour, I really like the last hour of the film. I think it's
the last hour is great.
It very much feels like a 90s film. This, like, between this and Point Break was kind of the start of the 90s action era movies that had that certain feel to them. It's hard to explain that feel. When you watch it, it was made in the 90s,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, you can just tell it's, yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to let you get into this movie for me because I know it's your birthday pick. But my biggest thing with Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves is it's like 4 different types of films. It's a romance film. It's a drama. It's comedy at times. And then it's really serious at times. Like Nottingham's an evil fucking bastard who wants to kill everybody. So it's really dark and evil at times. And that's my biggest thing with Prince of Thieves. It's like, decide what movie you want to be. But that said, a lot of 90s action films were like that. Let's laugh a little bit. Let's be serious. Let's have some drama. Oh, and the good guy's going to get the chick too.
Exactly. But they wanted to add a little bit more funny stuff to this. There was a part where Little John's wife was going to go into the kitchen whenever they're trying to cause all the ruckus and the distractions during the execution scene. And she was going to kind of rile up all the people in the kitchen, and there was supposed to be like a chef that was going to fall on like a big ass wedding cake, and you're like, whoa, like one of those that I'm like, whoa, that's kind of weird, a little throwing slapstick in there. I feel like, it's giving you just enough, like they catapult Robin and Azim over the wall, and Christian Slater characters, Will Scarlett, he's like, holy shit, fuck me, they made it over.
Here's the thing about that. I read that, right? And like he actually said that when he watched the stuntmen do it. So they liked it, so they left it in there. Okay.
Yeah.
And even though it wasn't part of the times, like they didn't talk like that back then. But then I'm like, Nottingham says twit. I doubt they said a twit back then either, that they said that word. So yeah. So what did it say if he said fuck? It's like
Exactly. But yeah, it's a cool film. It starts off pretty dark, and it got a lot of flack for being dark. It starts off, in the Crusades, of course, and Robin Hood's, in the midst of people's hands getting cut off for thievery, and he escapes and he goes back home, which his father was killed, and it's a dark, deathly, kind of gravely looking scene with the burning crosses and stuff. And the guy gets, Robin's dad to come out of the castle, and he says, "Join us or die," the sheriff, because he wants to plot this coup against the king so that he can be the king and take over England. He wants all of England. So, and it shows a little bit more in the extended version, which I watched today, which I don't think you need to show that he collaborated with all these people and tried to pay them and, embellishing more about how the highwaymen, AKA Robin Hood's taking all this money and stuff. But yeah, he wants power and money, like most classic villains do. And Kevin Costner's like, this spoiled little rich boy, I guess, that becomes this leader. So that's another trope that's kind of played in here. What's interesting is Cary Ells they wanted Cary for this film.
He asked to be the film. He thought it was dumb.
He thought
this script was too contrived and just stupid. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
it's the stupidest fucking movie I've ever seen.
Yeah. He's like, if I'm going to play in a stupid film, I want it to be extremely stupid. I want men in tights singing shit.
Second stupidest film I've ever seen. It's the stupidest film I've ever seen. Will always be Tropic Thunder.
There you go. Yeah. And then
terrible film. Anyway.
Yeah. And then Kristen Wright, or she played the princess in Princess Bride. She was supposed to be Maid Marian.
Patricia Arquette? Wait.
No,
Robin Wright Penn? Who ended up
Robin Wright.
Ended up marrying Sean Penn, yeah.
Yeah. So at the time, she was Robin Wright. But she was supposed to be Maid Marian. But of course, instead, we got Mary Elizabeth Mastrano. Mm-hmm. And she does a good job. I feel like you can definitely believe that she's in love with Robin. At first, she's annoyed because, she acts like they picked up from whenever they were children. But then as, she realizes what he's doing and that.
And then she realizes, like, okay, I love him.
Yeah. She's like, oh, wow. That's
Kevin Costner's ass.
Yeah. We have America's ass over here. I guess that was England's ass, for over there. But yeah, she sees him, and then, Bryan Adams' song plays in the background. And then the sheriff of Nottingham decides with being coerced by his mom, I guess, because in the extended version, she's the mom, and the director was very upset that they took that out of the original version. She coerces him to say, let marry noble blood. And so he forces a marriage with Maid Marian and is going to execute all the people of the hood, I guess, people of Sherwood Forest, the outlaws, in honor of this marriage. And the battle for Sherwood is badass. There's flaming arrows going everywhere. What I didn't know until I watched it like 3 times this week is that the stunt director, I guess he plays like almost everybody, and he just kept redressing up. And I'm like, you know what? I found that out, but I'm like watching it this morning, and I'm like, man, that person looks familiar. And sure enough, confirmed on IMDb, he played multiple people. And I was like, why is the same person getting shot over and over and over again? So he's just like, yeah, I'm just going to play everybody. Yeah. But I thought that was funny. Morgan Freeman's great. We haven't talked about Morgan Freeman. He's very intriguing. I feel like whenever he's on the screen, you pay attention to him. The painted man, as they call him.
It's also one of those movies that at times you forget he's in it. You're like, oh yeah, you go to sit down and watch it. You're like, oh, I forgot Morgan Freeman's in this. Yeah. Yeah,
he ain't flashy, but when he's on screen, you're like, oh shit, yeah, he's there. Yeah. And then he takes out the witch at the end. He fucking throws his scimitar and boomerangs that shit right into her chest.
I think part of Morgan Freeman is not, like you said, he's fine in this movie, but it came out what Unforgiven was a year later.
Yeah.
And so people will remember him for Unforgiven for this era, because he's so good in that movie.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. It's a better performance in Unforgiven. But yeah, I mean, it's a tale that's old as time. And what's cool at the end, of course, Kevin Costner saves the day. He gets the girl. He saves King Richard's throne. And King Richard, played by Sean Connery.
I knew that's why you have a hard-on for this movie, because Sean
Connery. Yes. James Bond is in this film. Also, he played Robin and Marion in the 1976 film with Richard Harris as Richard the Lionheart, which was pretty cool. But yeah, it's, I tried to look up to see if there was any, like, if this was like a true, like, story, if it was like historical fiction, if this whole Robin Hood thing was.
Legends, I think.
It's legends. They can't prove nor disprove. And apparently there were many Robin Hoods. Right. Even I think like King Edward II was considered a Robin Hood because he did something similar. I didn't read into it too much. But it's still pretty cool to see this version of historical fiction on historical legend, I guess, on screen. And yeah, I mean, I think what carries this film is Alan Rickman. I think good action, a good supporting cast. Costner is kind of in and out. He's somewhat believable in the role. Yeah, the accent he hired a coach, and then of course he fired him like halfway through. So I feel like there's still pieces of the film that came across where he's still kind of in that accent a little bit that made it through. I think so. I kind of hear it.
Right. Oh, yeah,
and then he goes back to speaking normal.
Well, Costner does his job in the movie. The one thing I don't like in the movie is the last 5 seconds. I hate the fourth wall break of Friar Tuck at the end of the movie because it makes no sense.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
And he goes, okay, well, get on. Get out of here.
Yeah, he talks to the audience at the end of the film, and it's like it must be one of those things because you said they wanted more comedy, so they left that in. But it's just like every time I'm like, why is this in the movie? It's weird, And then let's talk about people forget this movie also owed a lot of its success to the massive radio hit of Bryan Adams' "Everything I Do and Do It For You." And nowadays, with the advent of streaming radio and stuff, people have no idea what that was like. I mean, you could not turn your radio on in 1991 for more than 30 minutes without hearing that song. It was everywhere. And because it was a cross hit, it would be on country stations, it would be on easy listening stations, it would be on rock and roll stations because Bryan Adams is known for rock and roll. This was one of the most massively hit crossover singles ever. Probably even till this day, I would imagine. That's how big
they still play it on TikToks and stuff.
Yeah. It was a massively huge hit. It re-resurrected Bryan Adams' career. It had been, he had some success in the 70s and early 80s, and this brought his career back up. I mean, he was, sold millions of Robin Hood records because of this, and that was a time in the 90s, though, soundtracks were huge for movies. We talked about
and music videos. So it's like, it just keeps putting Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves in the spotlight. That's why it made like $400 million
it was very
on a budget of $40 million. Yeah.
And it owed a lot to the success of that song. And like you say, you'll still hear it today. You'll hear it in trailers and other things. And Bryan Adams, I read that he still to this day, he says he says, yeah, I'm tired of playing it, but I play it every night at my shows because I know people want to hear it.
Yeah.
And he still plays it, 30 years later at shows. And it was a huge hit for him. But overall, man, it's like I was dogging you some text messages like, oh, Robin, the movie is very entertaining. It's a fun film. It's definitely a 90s film. And it got me thinking though, too, like, I know like some of the early Robin Hood movies in the 50s and 60s are considered classics. But, as far as modern film, this is probably the best one we've had. Because, I tried to watch that Russell Crowe one. My God, you want to fall asleep and watch a movie, watch that fucking movie. It's like nothing happens. Like you watch the trailer for the Russell Crowe one, it shows him shooting an arrow. It looks like there's action in it. I don't know where. Maybe in the last 30 minutes of the film. I didn't make it that far. Because the first half hour of the film is literally Robin Hood literally the first hour of the film was Robin Hood sitting around a table talking to people. That's what I got out of it.
That's nuts.
It was a bore fest.
Dude, at the time, obviously, it's like there are other movies now that have way more action. Infinity War, but Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, felt like it had a lot of action in it. And parents, yeah, and man, me and my cousin, we'd watch this thing like every summer. Like there would be days where we would just heat up like a crap ton of pizza rolls, and we'd split like a 2-liter of Pepsi or cola. And we just watched this movie. Yeah. And then we had the NES game. I don't know if you ever had the NES game, but we played Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves on NES. And I felt like the game was pretty entertaining. It kind of played like Gunsmoke a little bit. It had that whenever you got hit and the screen would flash. But it was cool, man. Definitely a lot of cool aspects of the film.
This movie also has a small Star Wars connection. There were a lot of leftover molds from Star Wars toys.
Yeah.
And that they used for this movie.
They used that for the Kenner toys?
The Ewok treehouse was repainted as a Sherwood treehouse.
Wow.
Some of the weapons and figures were remolded and used for this movie. And turned to Robin Hood figures and things like that. So.
That makes sense. I wonder if some of the catapults were too.
The Rancor Keeper?
Yeah.
From the Star Wars line? That's Friar Tuck as an action figure.
Oh my God.
So
that is cool.
I think the Robin Hood mold was a new mold, but they reused some molds from the Star Wars line for this movie.
Way to use the Force, baby.
Overall though, man, just a fun film. And, I rewatched it this week. I realized how much I do remember this movie. So I know I've seen it way more than I thought I had seen it. And it was all good. So, but yeah, not a bad birthday pick, Matt, even though I was dogging you.
Yeah, man. Like you said, I've definitely picked worse.
I didn't dislike Bullet, even though I felt it to be very 1970-ish, kind of slow.
Oh yeah.
But out of your last 3 or 4 birthday picks, I probably enjoyed rewatching this one the most.
Yeah. It definitely brings you back. It's one of those films that definitely brings you back and makes you appreciate some early 90s stuff and makes you reminisce a little bit. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So next week we're going to jump back out of the 90s and into the 2010s. And this is a movie that it hit its 10th anniversary this past May or so. And I didn't find a good spot for it to fit in. So we're going to do it now in September. And that is Star Trek right now has been back in the news. It's doing really well on Paramount Plus, a lot of really popular shows. And I've been watching Strange New Worlds and I really like it. And, I'm kind of getting back into Star Trek. So we thought we would take a look back at, we're going to actually have a back-to-back J.J. Abrams week here in the next 2 weeks. And I didn't even realize that until after I put the movies down because we're going to do Super 8 in a couple weeks. But next week, we're going to do Star Trek Into the Darkness, the sequel to his 2009 mega Star Trek hit reboot.
You think you can't make mistakes? But the choices you make could get yourself and everyone under your command killed. But I believe in you, Jim.
Darkness is coming.
This could just be the beginning.
Beginning of what?
All-out war. I request permission to go after him. I cannot allow you to do this.
Jim, you're not actually going after this guy, are you?
Let's go get this son of a bitch.
You are a poem, Kirk.
Sir, there's a ship heading right for us.
You can't even guarantee the safety of your own crew. Now, shall we begin?
sir.
We're outnumbered. Outgunned.
I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. I only know what I can do.
The ship's dead, sir. She's gone.
No, she's not.
No ship should go down without her captain.
I believe in you, Jim.
Kind of looking forward to rewatching this. This is out of the new era of Star Trek films. I've only seen this one a couple of times. Where I've seen the 2009 one several times because I really like that one a lot.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, but Into the Darkness is pretty good too. It's got some great moments in it.
Got a lot of violence in it.
Yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch playing a new version of Khan. So it should be a fun rewatch to check it out this week and discuss it and look back on 10 years since this hit. And we blew our load, so to speak. And in a couple of weeks after that, we'll talk Super 8. It did not even occur to me that they were both directed by J.J. Abrams. I
know, right?
Movies. I'm going through Paramount Plus and seeing, man, we haven't done this movie. And I'm making a movie list. And I'm like, okay, we'll do that one. So, oh, well, fuck it. We'll have to visit some J.J. Abrams over the next couple of weeks. But until then, happy birthday, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you all for always listening to RebelRadioPodcast.com for all your Rebel Radio needs. And we want to just celebrate and be happy that Matt got another year and grew another pube, and maybe his voice.
There we go.
His voice will drop a little bit more too.
Light a candle for me.
That's it. And until next time, this has been Mark.
This has been Matt.
Remember as always, just go there.
Just go there and do it.